Okay, so we're back on more definitions, sorry, more strategies for the topic definition. So the first one was kind of this checklist. I think you should use it when you start thinking about your topic. But the next one is kind of after this, like if something passed, or maybe at what you're still thinking about your topic, you can also apply it. But if you have access to something and you want to narrow it down a bit more, you can use this strategy, which is like a pyramid but upside down. So start with a topic that is relevant, that you have access to, that is theoretically relevant, interesting, and empirically important. The big concept, the big topic. So digitalization. Maybe I like computers, I like systems, I am good at using digital things. So maybe digitalization is interesting for me in general. Then maybe I have access to a company, maybe where I work, or maybe the family business where I work have experienced a process of digitalization in accounting. Like they dropped the use of paper and now they do everything digital. They use cloud computing, blah, blah, blah. I know. And finally, well, this this contradicts my previous statement, but maybe I don't have, it's not that I have access to a company, but I have access to the municipality. My municipality just decided to start a digitalization process. So, and I have access to that because maybe they are public and they're transparent. So maybe you have access to that. So narrow it down to something even smaller, like the digitalization process in public sector accounting. And if you want to narrow it more, it's even better, like maybe management accounting, or maybe reporting in accounting, on reporting, only reporting. On the report now is not in paper anymore, it's everything online. So maybe that's kind of a way to narrow it down. That is one strategy. So the topic will be the end, right? Like not this not the topic, the final topic, like this topic, it should be this. So you should then reflect. That's why I say it's iterative also, because maybe digitalization you have access, blah blah blah. But if you then you move to this and then you reflect, oh no, I made a mistake. I don't have access to public sector. Okay, don't worry. Just take out public sector, and maybe you have access to a company. So digitalization in startups, in accounting of startups, right? And then you check, oh, I have access. It's very relevant theoretically. If you know about digitalization in accounting, it's very relevant. Is it interesting? Maybe from the beginning, yes, and very important. So it's iterative. You need to go back. That is one way to do it. But another way, if you mix perspectives, or if you mix two worlds of or two kind of bodies of literature, like maybe you like psychology and maybe you like what we call cognitive bias, like how do you perceive things and how do you interpret things. Like one cognitive bias, for example, is overconfidence, that you think that you are so good that you maybe miss a way of learning, or maybe you miss alternatives, and maybe you are not innovative because you are so obsessed or you are so overconfident. So one type of cognitive bias is that you're overconfident. There are different cognitive bias, and you want to analyze if cognitive bias affect how new companies become international. So that's actually a real life thing, because this is a topic of a working paper that I am doing right now, where I am trying to understand if the presence of a cognitive bias affects the strategy of internationalization in new ventures. So what is going on in here? That I am mixing two worlds or two perspectives. One is from psychology, cognitive bias, and the other one is international business and strategies of internationalization. So I am mixing two, creating this topic, cognitive bias affecting internationalization strategies in new ventures. So what happened is that I reflected also, I went back to this checklist. And first I asked, do I have access to where I can study this? And the answer was yes, because my co-author knows people who own a new venture and they internationalize, and they were okay with having interviews with us. And I also met people the same, people who had new ventures that were becoming international from Mexico, and they were okay with interviewing them. So I had access. Theoretically relevant, it is theoretically relevant from international business literature. They are now exploring the ideas from psychology, so it's very relevant for international business studies. Of course, it's not like given already. I still have, or my co-author and I, we still have to argue for that. We need to write why is that relevant, but it is theoretically relevant. It is interesting for me. I think cognitive bias is interesting for me, and internationalization as well, although I'm more in accounting. I like this topic. And it's empirically important, of course, that it's great that we have more and more new ventures that are international, and it would be great if we understand the role of the cognitive bias in that sense. So this is another strategy. So you have at least two. And this one that we talked about in the previous video, you should use it all the time. Make sure that if you make a change, reflect if you still have access, reflect how difficult or easy it will be to justify why we have to study that concept that you are arguing about. Like here, in this example, for example, I asked myself how difficult it is to challenge the assumptions behind what we know about cognitive bias in international business. And what happens is that, yes, because we mostly know about large organizations that or multinational companies and how cognitive bias affects multinational companies, but not in the context of new ventures and startups. When it is different, the cognitive bias has much more power because the decisions are made by one person. So maybe the cognitive bias can even have like a back circle, right? Because they perceive that they have a lot of power and how they can decide. So that argumentation about the concept of cognitive bias and I don't care about at this moment, I don't care about which company I'm studying. I'm care about the concept. So reflection about the theoretical relevance. If it is interesting for you, I believe this is quite easy to solve. And then in the end, you can use this, the narrow down with the pyramid or the mix of perspectives. So I will finish the video in here. In the next video, we will do an exercise, a conscious exercise about some topic ideas. And then we close the topic definition.